Hey there, I'm Benjamin from Loves Data, and in this video you'll learn how to set up server-side tagging. Switching to server-side tagging means your tags are processed by a server instead of relying only on the browser. This can improve performance by reducing the load on your pages, and it also helps with privacy and data quality. For example, instead of Google Analytics sending hits directly from your visitor's browser, the data is first sent to your tagging server, which then passes it on to Google Analytics and other platforms. To set things up, we're going to use Usercentrics Server-Side Tagging. It saves you from managing a Google Cloud server, so setup is quick and easy. And by moving tags to the server, you'll benefit from more accurate data and clearer attribution for your marketing campaigns. Usercentrics have very kindly sponsored this video. You can find a link in the description to create an account and check out their pricing. Okay, let's jump in. Let's head to Google Tag Manager. The first thing you will need to set up server-side tagging is a web container. This might sound strange, but we need a way to pass information to the tags in our server-side container. If you already have a web container set up and installed on your website, you can use that, but I'm going to quickly walk you through the steps to do this first. I've already logged into Google Tag Manager, and we can see I have a number of accounts and containers already set up. But we're going to start from scratch, so let's click Create Account. We need to name our account. This is like a top-level folder in Google Tag Manager. And I recommend naming your account after your business or website. I'm going to name this account Loves Data Usercentrics Server-Side. We select our country, and if we want to share anonymous data. Next, we need to name our container. A container is used to store tags, triggers, variables, and other elements that we want to use for our website. Just like the account, you can name your container anything you like, but I recommend naming it after the website or even the domain of your website. I'm going to name this container Loves Data Web, just so it's really clear this is my web container. Now let's select Web as the target platform and click Create. We need to agree to the terms and click Yes. We're now given the container code that needs to be installed on our website. Let's close this, and let's make a note of the container ID at the top. This will start with GTM and then a dash. I'm going to install Google Tag Manager on WordPress, but if you're using another website platform, please check out the links in the description. I have a number of tutorials covering the steps to install GTM, and if you don't find a tutorial for your platform, please let me know in the comments. Okay, let's head to WordPress. I've already installed the GTM for WordPress plugin, so let's hover over Settings and select Google Tag Manager. Now let's paste our container ID and click Save Changes. Sometimes the container code option switches to off when changes are saved, so just make sure this is set to on, otherwise the container code won't be added to your live website. We can see the option is set to off, so let's change this to on, and let's save our changes again. Now that we've added the web container to our website, let's head back to Google Tag Manager. The next thing we're going to do is add the Google tag for Google Analytics to our container. We're going to use this tag to send all of the information we need to our server-side container. So let's add a new tag. Let's name the tag Google Tag GA4 Page View. And let's select Tag Configuration. And let's choose Google Tag as the tag type. Next, we need to enter the measurement ID from our Google Analytics property. So let's head to Google Analytics. I've already navigated to the admin area, so let's select Data Streams. And let's open the data stream for my website. Now let's copy the measurement ID. We will need this again later, so let's also make a note of our measurement ID. And let's head back to Google Tag Manager. You could just paste the measurement ID under Tag ID, but let's create a variable so it's reusable. To do this, let's enter 2 opening curly brackets. And let's select New Variable from the drop-down. Now let's name the variable GA4 Measurement ID. And let's select Variable Configuration. We scroll down and choose Constant. Now let's paste our measurement ID as the value. And let's click Save. Let's ensure the initialization All Pages trigger is added to our tag. And now let's save our tag. We've now created a Google tag in our web container, so the next step is to set up our server-side container. Before we create the server-side container in Google Tag Manager, we're going to set up the Usercentrics Server-Side Tagging solution. This will be our tagging server. It collects data and, depending on consent, sends it to the tools we're using, including Google Analytics, Google Ads, and other platforms. Let's head to the Usercentrics Server-Side Tagging page. I've included a link to this in the description below this video. This page outlines the features and benefits of the Usercentrics Server-Side Tagging solution. And to set up our tagging, let's click Start Free. If you don't already have a Usercentrics account, you can create one. Since I already have an account, I'm going to click Login. I'm going to enter my email address and my password. To start, we need to enter our contact details. So I'm going to enter my name, and address. And ensure I'm happy with the currency and language selections. Now let's click Continue. We can now set up our container. We need to name our container. I'm going to name mine Loves Data Server-Side. Next, we need to enter our container config. This is a special code snippet that connects our website's Google Tag Manager container to our tagging server. To get our container config, we need to set up our server-side container in Google Tag Manager. So let's head back to Google Tag Manager. And let's navigate to the Google Tag Manager homepage. And we can see the web container we just set up. In the same account, let's create our server-side container. To do this, let's click the 3 vertical dots on the top right corner of the account. And let's select Create Container. Let's name this container Loves Data Server-Side. And let's select Server as the target platform. Now let's click Create. We can see the options to set up our tagging server. Let's select Manually Provision Tagging Server. And we're now given the container config. Let's copy this. Now let's head back to Usercentrics to finish setting up our tagging server. And we need to paste our container config code. There's an option to select the location of our tagging server, but currently there's only one option. I'm guessing Usercentrics will be adding more options in the future. Okay, now let's click Create Container. We've now created our tagging server. There's a few more steps to complete to start using server-side tagging. First, we need to set up a custom domain. Let's click Add Custom Domain. I recommend configuring your tagging server to run on your website's domain. This lets your container create first-party cookies, meaning the cookies are stored directly on your website's domain. Usercentrics lets us configure a custom subdomain to do this. You can use any subdomain that you like, but I recommend using something that isn't obvious. So I'm going to copy the random one generated for the Usercentrics domain. So everything before the .sst. And I'm going to paste this as my custom domain. Then I'm going to enter .lovesdata-test.com. This is the domain for my demo site. You should enter the domain for your website here. Now let's click Add Domain. We're given the CNAME record for our domain. This record lets us forward requests from our custom subdomain to Usercentrics. Let's copy the host and the value. I'm using Cloudflare to manage my domain's DNS records, so let's head to Cloudflare. I've already logged into Cloudflare and we're looking at records under DNS. Let's click Add Record. And let's select CNAME as the type. Now let's paste the host we copied from Usercentrics. And let's paste the value as the target. Let's disable the proxy option. And let's click Save. We've now set up our custom subdomain, so let's head back to Usercentrics. You might need to wait for your domain to be verified, but let's click Refresh to see if it's active. Our subdomain is now active, so that's great. Next, we need to add our custom subdomain to our server-side container. So let's make a note of our custom domain. And now let's head to Google Tag Manager. Let's close the Setup window. And let's navigate to Admin. Now let's select Container Settings and click Add URL. Let's enter https:// and paste the URL from our tagging server. Now let's click Save. Now let's navigate back to the workspace. To take full advantage of our server-side container, it's also worth taking the time to configure things so Google scripts are served from our custom domain. This includes scripts like the Google Tag Manager container code and the Google tag. To do this, let's navigate to Clients. And let's click New. Let's name the client GTM Web Container. And let's select Client Configuration. Now let's choose Google Tag Manager Web Container. And let's click Add Container ID. Now we need to paste the ID from our web container. We made a note of this at the very start of this video. If you don't have it handy, you'll need to open your web container, copy it, and come back. Let's disable the region-specific settings. And let's click Save. Now let's navigate to Tags. And let's create a tag to send GA4 events through to Google Analytics. To do this, let's click New. Let's name the tag Google Analytics GA4. And let's select Tag Configuration. Now let's select Google Analytics and choose the GA4 tag at the top. We need to enter the measurement ID from our GA4 property. We made a note of this earlier. Let's create a variable to add this. So let's enter two opening curly brackets. And let's select a new variable in the drop-down. Let's name the variable GA4 measurement ID. And let's select variable configuration and choose constant as the type. Now let's enter our measurement ID from Google Analytics. And let's save the variable. Now let's scroll down and select triggering. Let's click the plus sign on the top right corner to create a new trigger. Let's name the trigger GA4 All Events. And let's select Trigger Configuration. Now let's choose Custom as the trigger type. By default, this will trigger for all events, but let's add a condition so that our tag only triggers for Google Analytics events. To do this, let's select Some Events. Now for the variable, let's select Choose Built-in Variable using the drop-down. And let's select the client name variable. Now let's change the matching from contains to equals. And for the value, let's enter GA4. This will mean our tag is only fired for GA4 events coming through to our server-side container. Okay, let's save our trigger. And let's save our tag. We've now set up our Usercentrics tagging server, and we've set up our server-side container in Google Tag Manager. We just have a few more steps we need to complete. We need to adjust our container in WordPress, adjust the web container, and we need to test that everything is working. Let's head to WordPress. We're still looking at the GTM for WordPress plugin settings, so let's select the Advanced tab. And let's enter the custom domain we configured for our Usercentrics tagging server as the container domain name. And let's save this. Now we just need to adjust our web container, so our GA4 tag sends data through to our server-side container. To do this, let's head to Google Tag Manager. And let's open our web container. Let's navigate to Tags. And let's open our Google tag for GA4. Let's select Tag Configuration. And let's select Configuration Settings. Now let's click Add Parameter. And let's enter server_container_URL as the name. And for the value, let's enter https:// followed by the custom subdomain for our Usercentrics tagging server. And let's click Save. Since this is a simple setup, let's publish our container. To do this, let's click Submit. Let's name our version. And let's click Publish. Our web container has been published, so now let's open our server-side container. And let's click Preview. This tab will now let us preview our server-side container, but we also need to load our website, so let's head back to Google Tag Manager. Let's switch to our web container, and let's click Preview in our web container. Another tab opens, and let's enter the URL of our website. And click Connect. Our website loads. And we can see Google Tag Assistant has connected. Let's navigate to another page. And let's open the Tag Assistant tab for our web container. We can see our GA4 tag has fired. And we can select our GA4 measurement ID at the top. This shows us the different hits or events that have been collected. Now we can open the Tag Assistant tab from our server-side container. And we can see the hits on the left, along with the events that have been sent to Google Analytics. So everything is working correctly. Let's head back to Google Tag Manager to publish our container to our live website. And let's switch to our server-side container. Let's click Submit to publish our server-side container. Let's name the version and click Publish. We've now set up server-side tagging with Usercentrics. This is a great way to future-proof your implementation and means you can take advantage of improved data quality, privacy, and other benefits of server-side tagging. Thanks again to Usercentrics for sponsoring this video. And to learn more about their server-side tagging solution, you can find a link in the description below. In a future video, we'll cover the steps to connect your server-side container to your cookie banner. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.